Join us on a journey beyond reason, where we have chats and discussions about the in-between and far beyond.
I'm not sure what Planetary Transits is about, but I know someone who does. Tell me, help me to understand what it means, because she's like, I don't know if we should talk until the transits have passed. Right. And it was an interesting week, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you felt that last week. It was around New Year's Eve, December 31st, right? Through January 3rd. We had some gnarly transits going on. But before we go to that, I have to pull the card for the day, okay? So now I put out my energy cards, and I noticed there's a rogue card in here from another deck, right? It looks different.
It looks friendly. It's got a heart on it.
It's a rogue. So that means we have to look at it. And what it says is be flexible. So it's really good to know that we need to be flexible. So we're going to be flexible during the show. And for all you out there who are watching, flexibility is such a good thing, because we can get stuck in our...
And you did your yoga, so you're all flexible.
Needed the yoga. I've been doing yoga every day, and it's helping my breath, my breathing. It just feels so much better. So anyway, the transits. Okay, let's talk about the transits. Remember, I'm a Vedic astrologer, and the signs are 24 degrees or one house behind tropical Western, for those of you who are used to the Western astrology. So, boy, some of you who follow astrology know that we've been having some really challenging transits. And so around New Year's Eve, December 31st, we had the Mars opposite Pluto. Now, Mars can be the planet that starts the feelings of energy, and it can escalate all the way into violence. So it's the planet of war. It's the planet of energy. It's the planet of courage. It's the planet that stands for the blood. It's energy. It's also land. But boy, when it's opposite Pluto, and Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, and so when you're putting something... Pluto is power and control and nuclear. So when you're combining energy, violence with a Pluto, which is nuclear, you're creating violence. So everybody in this planet was affected by it. So from December 31st all the way to January 3rd. January 3rd, it became exact. And that's so usually when planets are approaching a planet, this is the transits, the ones that are moving in the sky. So Mars was approaching Pluto opposite. Opposite can also mean enemies. So oppositions, right? They were opposing each other. So they were fighting each other. And so when Mars was 3 degrees opposite, was approaching the same degree as Pluto, in that 3-degree orb, that's when we begin to feel it. And so December 31st, and that's when we saw in the news what happened with New Orleans and violence. So that's when it began. And all of you and us in our personal lives, I'm sure we all felt that to some extent, depending on where it lands in your chart. So it can happen internally. So for some people, maybe they felt that all of a sudden they were feeling this uncontrollable anger, and they had to explode, and they had to tell somebody what they thought about something, and it
like
was
horn honking.
Yeah, horn honking and yelling for no reason.
Tailgating.
You know,
that around here.
You know, and maybe when you were shopping, somebody wanted to argue or pick a fight. You know, these kind of things. So it can go from one extreme to the next.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The last 2 episodes, we had intense cards come up. We had
hostility. I remember.
Was that like a precursor to this? Should that have
Maybe
been
it was. Well,
a message that this transit was going to be
That's
intense. So
that's a good point.
and I have is it you can have good transits, like everyone wants to get out there and cuddle. Maybe there's some inappropriately too friendly of behavior from transits. And then there's transits where people want to strangle each other.
Right. So it depends on the planet, and it depends on the aspect. The aspect is how many houses away that planet is from another planet. So you're looking at two planets at one time, and then you compare to the other planets. It's like geometry. It's like, what are the angles and how many houses away is one planet from the other? I mean, I don't want to get into teaching astrology. I can, but to simplify it, basically the opposition is when one is opposed to the other. It's the planet of me. It's the first house of me and the seventh house of you. So when they're opposite, it's me versus you. Okay. So when you have Mars versus Pluto, I'll bet you, I mean, we would love to hear your comments. Like, did you experience this around December 31st to January 3rd? Did any of you experience some uncontrollable urge to get aggressive, violent?
Did you throw any temper tantrum?
Did you have any temper tantrums?
Did you have an argument with someone you love?
Right?
Did you what did you call it? Did you get triggered?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
just like all of a sudden you were shooting bullets of words that normally would not come out of your mouth?
Right.
Tell us about it.
And it didn't seem to fit. Like, where's this coming from? Well, it was the Mars-Pluto opposition. And then in addition to that, feel free to interject.
I'm a nice person, but I wasn't nice one day. And I was really just so frustrated because I couldn't seem to get the words that I was trying to say to the person that was needing to hear them. And I love them dearly. And then they were saying they weren't being mean. And so clearly our communication was broken as well.
Oh, and that's the thing too, because it causes misunderstandings, and especially, one of the things, there's a saying that I love. It's when emotion is high, intelligence is low.
Yes.
Have all of you experienced that when you're feeling extreme emotion? It's like all of a sudden you get all dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't say anything that makes sense. And
I have said that when you're in a state of anger, you lose your IQ. Your IQ points drop. Exactly. And your ability to understand things drop. It's kind of like when I was on my cycle and I would have PMS and I had a whole nother set of goggles on and everybody was attacking me. I couldn't wait to be through the cycle. I feel for all of you who are still going through that. And it is a wonderful thing, but woohoo, when you don't have to go through that every month anymore.
Right.
For those of you wondering about menopause. Or perimenopause.
But we'll talk about that another time, right?
Yes.
So anyway, we're going to talk about health and the things we've experienced and some of our clients have experienced.
Because we both are feeling really good. So I think it's going to be, unless you think this will be a two-parter. If this isn't a two-parter, then next week we'll find releasing on health, on how to identify why you have pain, because it's not always because you hurt yourself. It could be a spiritual reason why you have this pain, and getting rid of it is just fantastic.
Right.
And surprising sometimes. But there was a question I had. I don't know if you're done talking. Did you want to pull any more cards about the transits?
I can, absolutely.
Because I'm going to go into the spirit part of this after.
Yes, we want to hear about the spiritual attachments compared to the transits, because one of the things that makes sense about that is in Vedic astrology, the planets are called grahas. And what that means
I love the way that sounds.
I know, isn't it nice? I just love
like
Sanskrit.
to say it.
So it means to pull on you. And so what the Vedics believe is that as planets are moving through the sky, they're pulling on us, and it's reflected in our charts. So basically, we are a makeup of our birth chart. And so where the planets were when we landed on planet Earth, when we were born, that's our birth chart. That's where the planets were when we were born. So that's why the time of birth, the day, and the location is so important.
And did that make it more impactful when these transits on some sun signs than others? Like
Yeah,
some
not
people
just
didn't even
sun.
notice anything.
Well, not just sun signs, but everybody
I don't-
noticed this. Everybody noticed this because Mars opposite Pluto as a transit, it's going to be touching everybody's chart in a specific way. So, since they're opposite, for example, a Taurus rising is going to experience that in the third, ninth house axis, and they're opposite. And that is the axis of travel and education. So, so Taurus risings in Vedic would experience probably sudden unexpected travel. Hopefully not, but maybe there were some car accidents. Maybe there were some accidents, some anger around a mistake being made around travel or education, communication, information. That's the axis of communication as well. So, also, Mars is retrograde in Cancer, and Cancer is the weakest sign for Mars. So,
I wish I knew this, what all this meant, so it make more sense.
so I'm going to translate. I always translate. So when it's retrograde in Cancer, that makes it like it's exalted as if it were in Capricorn. So it's super, super duper strong. And then you have the super duper strong Mars, planet of violence, opposite Pluto. It's really explosive. So I think the theme for December 31st and maybe even the 30th through January 3rd was explosive. I think that would be the key word to describe those days.
When you said that word, I was like, that resonated really well with me.
Good. Exactly. And then to add to that, more challenges is there is that the aspect of Mars and Pluto, they were touching the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon are destiny points in a chart. They're not necessarily planets, but they are destiny points that move through the chart at a very slow pace. It takes 18 months for the nodes to go through a chart, and they cause the eclipses, and the eclipses cause change in our lives. So when Mars and Pluto were exactly aspecting Rahu and Ketu, North Node, South Node is another name for it. It just like, it just like that escalated even more. So very challenging week last week, December 30th, 31st through January 3rd. And then when I was noticing that, I was like, okay, so after January 3rd, then I can come to the surface and start to come out more and not hide out and lay low from people.
The difference a day makes.
What a difference a day makes. And what do you know? Here we are now. We survived it. Yay. And
sometimes you just need to take a little vacation from being right and getting to the bottom of something and just go, you know what? It can wait. It can wait a few days.
Yeah. So should I pull another card around those transits, and then you can talk about what you had to say about
and how the transits affect spiritually as well, because
so the spiritual repercussion of the Mars Pluto's
which deck are you gonna use?
I'm feeling really guided to the energy cards, so I'm gonna pull one here. Oh, look at that. That's the third chakra. So that's the solar plexus chakra. And this that's so
we
funny.
pulled this card. Like,
you know what? This is the
pulling
chakra of Mars, because I love it when that happens. So each planet represents each one of our chakras, and Mars is the solar plexus. So we're talking about Mars. You know, Mars is honored that Mars is being talked about right now. And I'm wearing the color of Mars too. It's red, and it's the solar plexus chakra. So Mars, a lot of the time, the Vedics believe the planets are alive and they pull on us. So a remedy is to speak to that planet and acknowledge them and give them glory. And so I want to acknowledge Mars and thank Mars for giving us the strength and the energy to accomplish and set out all the things that we want to get done in our day. So we are really giving Mars a lot of glory.
And that sounds funny to me, but I talk to spirits and I honor them. So,
and
this is a whole new perspective for me.
Oh, awesome. And I'm
awesome.
sure it is for a lot of the people watching too.
I mean, we appreciate Mother Earth and Mother Gaia, whatever you want to call her.
And the indigenous...
And talk endearingly to her as well. So
absolutely.
Makes
nature,
sense.
right? This is nature. The planets are part of nature, natural law. That's the 9th house. And
So I was.
Go ahead.
We have this
I'll leave that
show, Beyond Reason, and she is the astrology and planetary expert and astrologist, and I'm learning from her, and I'm a medium, a medical medium, but I'm also just a regular intuitive psychic medium as well. But I was like, how are we going to combine these two modalities that we use? And she's also a psychic as well. So, but how are we going to mix this together? How do the transits apply to spirit? And I asked before I went to sleep, because this is what I do. I asked spirit to show me in a dream how it all relates, and they talked about entities that can kind of join with your soul. And I have people that ask me and they say, how do I get rid of this entity that's attached itself to me? It'll feel as though something's attached to you. And it is in essence, but it doesn't become part of you. It's something you can shed off. And sometimes they're like little cheerleaders. They can be real people who have lived in this life and have decided to hang out with you because you have similar challenges to them. If you had an addiction, a person who has passed on that had an addiction, will join with you to try to help you navigate your life as part of their karma in some instances, as well as people who committed suicide will join up with people who are struggling with that. But then there's just these like entities. I was told that they're called a nymph. One of my friends had one that was hanging out with her for a while, and she'll know who she is when she watches this. She would get super angry at the television, just screaming and, because of what was on there. And I could feel this energy talking to her and going, come on, more. And it actually was hurting her, making her ill. So when you spew lots of angry, hateful words, it comes back. And that saying at the schoolyard, whatever you say about me, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No, it's the what you say,
but that's not
bounces
true.
Off me and goes back on you. And that law of attraction.
That's more accurate.
Yeah, that's the better one. So it's the childish words were very wise. So if you are doing that and if you feel like there's someone with you as you yell at the TV, whoever's on there saying something you don't agree with, or in life, or the guy that just cut you off, or, that person may have to get to the hospital because the person in their car is dying. That person who's honking the horn behind you may actually have 1 minute to get to the hospital to say their final goodbyes to someone. If we can navigate through the world with a really good angel on one shoulder instead of the little red-headed guy on your other shoulder,
or the white wolf and the black wolf.
Oh, there's a good one.
Yeah.
Then you'll have less to deal with. And when that was shown to me, I was like, oh, that totally is what it feels like when the transit was like pulling on me. Sometimes you just get pulled, and it felt like some little entity was going, come on, Claire, let's say something really mean right now.
Yeah, it's like an urge or a pull, and like you're powerless over it, and all of a sudden it's like in a way like a possession or something.
Exactly. And the planets maybe have their favorite, or maybe there's some entities that love this planet's pull.
And maybe
it ties in.
And maybe they're getting affected by
Yeah.
the planets too, these spiritual entities too.
Exactly. And the person that decided to destroy the lives of so many in New Orleans on New Year's, probably had a little cheerleader, I would imagine, at least one, that was telling him that this was the good thing to do. How else could anyone do that?
Or it was an urge.
And I got a yes.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
I got my spirit yes. So it's a spirit touch that I have, and they pretty much let me know when something is said that is true.
Like a confirmation.
Yeah, so that person, we can think a little bit, have a little compassion for him, and knowing that there was entities that was pulling him to do what he did.
Yep.
And in that moment that he actually did that, he may have actually felt regret and not wanted to do it. We don't know. We won't know till it's our time to cross over and go through our life review and find out how we affected everyone and how what we did affected that person and that person. And some of it's going to be so exciting and so lovely that you may not even be able to handle how good you feel from finding out what a good deed you did for someone. Even some of the least of things that you do. And then oh my, look at what I did. Look at what me honking my horn did that day. It didn't just affect the person I honked the horn. It affected all these other people. It may have even caused an accident down the road, and all that energy gets gathered up in a little satchel, and it's karma that you get to deal with either now in this world, in this life, or in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So
what we put out comes back to us.
And you want to think about
the law of attraction.
I mean, it's kind of a selfish way to look at it. I don't want to have bad karma, so I'm being good. When I was a little girl, I decided I didn't want anyone to have anything bad to say about me at my funeral. And I know that's really morbid, but I am who I am. I've been seeing the dead since I was 4.
You're probably not the only one who thinks like that. I'm sure.
And at 9, I was like, I asked the picture of Jesus. I was praying to it, and I said, what is my purpose in life? And my purpose in life, the words I heard was to be the peacemaker and to help people communicate with one another. Last week, I was not feeling like I was a good communicator at all. So I kind of hid. I went into a little cave. I felt like a turtle.
That was
in my
smart to do that.
Yeah.
So,
it was the only way to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think the thing to think about when we get into is this uncontrolled behavior that normally we wouldn't find acceptable, is to pause, hit the pause button and just stop and go take care of yourself, go eat something. There's a acronym called HALT. It's for those who are hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And boy, that came in handy last week for me. And I'm sure some of you who know about HALT did that too. It was a good time to do that. So it's so important because those of you who don't follow astrology, I believe, and many astrologers believe, that we're being affected by the transits constantly, nonstop, and that
Time to learn about it.
So it really helps to understand why people do the things they do when they do it. And it's helped me a lot too.
How I handled HALT was I didn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
I made this really good dinner.
You were hungry and you didn't eat?
I made this fantastic dinner. But the frustration of me normally being able to communicate really well, not communicating really well, the frustration. I cleaned everything I could. I straightened everything up and made myself a dinner. And then I tried to eat it and I couldn't eat. I was stuffed on the first bite. So I went, okay, fine. So I just put it away. And then I just became quiet and prayed and asked for guidance to help me understand how to fix this. And sometimes the way to fix it is to not do anything at all and just to pray. Pray to the guides. You can pray to someone's, spirit that hangs around with them and helps them be good, and go, hey, how can I reach them? Help me reach them. And, we don't do any of this alone. We have guides. We have guardian angel. We have
I like to call it
archangels.
I like to call it our higher power, because everybody has a concept of who God is, or, you know, some people don't subscribe to spirit guides. Some people don't subscribe to God. Some people do. So
Whatever you guys want to say,
it's
but
whoever
for
your
me,
higher
it's God.
power is. Yeah, me too.
And I see spirits, so that makes it a little different probably than if you don't. If you have to just live on faith and in the unknown and the unseen, I don't know what it feels like because I've always seen spirit, but I do know what it feels like to have someone who doesn't see it think I'm crazy.
I was just going to ask you about that.
And it's really hurtful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
how do you handle that?
And I hear people's thoughts, not everyone, by the way, and not all of their thoughts. I hear that which I'm supposed to hear, I'm being told. And sometimes I can interrupt on the phone. I was writing an answer to someone on Quora, which is a place that I answer questions on, and they asked about what's it like to be telepathic? What's it like to be able to hear people's thoughts? And it's a lot easier for me now as an adult. But when I was younger, I used to hear literally with my ear not everyone's, but a lot of people's thoughts. And if they were behind me talking, I wouldn't know that they weren't speaking. And I would hear their thought and then I would answer. And it became really like,
that must be hard.
There was a boy that I really liked and he was freaked out by me. He's like, I can't date you. I can't do this. This is just too
Why?
crazy.
Because you were reading his mind all the time?
Well, I didn't do it all. It didn't take all the time. It only took a few times before he was like, this is just weird. But on the phone, I think I've been coming to realize that on the phone now, it's coming back. I'm hearing people thinking. And so I'm interrupting in phone conversations. But I'm actually letting the person speak. They just haven't spoken yet. So I'm ahead of the conversation. So I have to carve into my gifts, which is something that you can do if you do have gifts. You're not stuck with a malfunctioning gift, and that to me is malfunctioning because it can be frustrating for both parties on the phone. So if my sister hadn't have said, I did not say anything, you just answered me and I didn't say it. So now I know it's back, and it's back on the phone because I can't see on the phone that they're not talking. And now I can carve into my gifts, which I've done over my lifetime because some of them got out of control. And so you just pray. You need to understand that an entity that comes on board, you can let go. You need to learn how to clear your house. And on my website, I have instructions on how to do clearings and some feathers for clearing, which is what's hanging up on the wall here. That you may not know what this is. Yeah, so beautiful. These are smudging feathers, and I was told by Spirit to make these in white feathers for showing that it isn't all spooky ooky on the
or woo woo
the spiritual side. So I don't want to run on because I feel like we're reaching the 30-minute mark on this.
All right.
And but I hope that you understand that this is a life full of magical things that we can discover if we have an open mind and an open heart.
It's beyond reason, you know, especially when you can't make sense of something. And hopefully we answered some questions for some of you who had a really chaotic week last week. And last week was New Year's Eve, the week of 2025, when we started 2025. So we hope that helped. Please put your comments and any questions in the comment section of this video.
And we will put links in the links area or the more information area underneath the video. See you next week.
And I'm sure it will be much easier than the last week.
Oh.
So take care,
God
everybody.
Willing, or spirit willing, or transit willing. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
All right, come on, Claire.
Yeah, I was starting to feel tired.
Still recording because I...
Oh, it is?
Doesn't mean anything.